Hello my dear students. In this class of English, we are going to learn all the important questions and answers from the chapter The Enemy. This is the chapter which is there in Vistas from class 12th book, and the chapter's writer is Paul S. Buck. Okay, so this might come in your MCQ. Keep in mind. Now we will move towards the theme. Let me tell you, children, I have written your answer in points, but in the examination you have to use these points as the main content and you have to turn it into a sentence. Okay, don't just copy the shortcut form that I have used out here. Let's start with the theme. The theme of the story is, it talks about the conflict between man's inherent humanness and the hatred and prejudices created by pseudo nationalism and war. Here you need to understand that humanness is there in human being already when they are born. Okay, but as they grow, what happens? Because of the environment that they grow in, they create hatred against people. They have prejudices about their nationalism. Okay, they segregate themselves from the rest of the world. Therefore, the problem crops up. So the theme is conflict of man, and then we find conflict because of nationalism. Okay, next point is illogicality of war. In this story we find futility or uselessness of war, because whoever wins in the war, lots and lots of destruction we get to see during the fight. Therefore, resources are destroyed, human beings lose their life, and earth loses maximum resources. So whoever wins, they won't be able to bring back the losses that different countries have made. Therefore, wars are illogical. Okay, let's move towards the message of the story. The message that we find in this story is deglorification of war. Indirectly, it talks about the futility of war. Therefore, it is an anti-war story, okay, which does not glorify war. All right, the soldiers might be brave, the soldiers might be gallant, but the reason of the war should be avoided without questioning the bravery of the soldiers. Next point is humanness in war. See, in the war, the countries become enemies, obviously. Okay, so even if the enemies are entrapped by opposite nationalities, they should not show inhumanness on them. We have read in the newspaper and we have heard in the news channel that soldiers' body were tortured, they were burned with cigarette, they were cuts, their organs were removed. Okay, so that should be avoided in war. Therefore, it talks about universal brotherhood. The message is that to promote universal brotherhood throughout the world. Next, patriotism and the medical profession. The chapter talks about the patriotism which every citizen should have, and then the profession or professional ethics. A doctor can never leave a patient dying in front of him. So that is the dilemma which is discussed here, and the message is that to rise above the caste, creed and sex which demarcates or which isolates different nationalities from the rest of the world. It also talks about doctors have no nationality, no religion. Doctors and patients, their relationship is eternal. Doctors must treat patient, whoever it is. Even if it is a criminal, they should treat them in order to save it. Let's move towards the question now. First question is, why was Dr. Sadao not sent to the battlefield? The answer should be, General Takima was ill and might need an operation anytime. See children, you have to keep in mind who was the general. What was his name? This is for MCQ. Okay. General's name was Takima, and he was ill. He had some gallbladder problem. Therefore, he had been under operation for many times. Therefore, Dr. Sadao was not sent out because he was the one who was treating General Takima. Okay. And another reason was that Sadao was perfecting a discovery which was likely to render wounds entirely clean. Another reason of his stay in Japan was that Dr. Sadao was working on a research topic, okay, which renders wound entirely clean. So in order to complete this discovery, he had stayed there. Next point is his presence in Japan was indispensable. Now how it has become indispensable? Indispensable means extremely necessary. See, General Takima had won so many wars and battles for Japan. Okay, so in his generalship, what happened? Japan was able to receive lots of victories. So Dr. Sadao was the man who was saving the life of General Takima. Therefore, Sadao was given a lot of importance. Okay, he was doing discovery and he was considered, and he was not taken away from General Takima, because if Dr. Sadao will not treat General Takima, then Takima might die. That was the threat that General Takima and other people had. Therefore, he was there in Japan. Now, let's move to the next question. Why did Sadao and Hana not marry heedlessly in America? Heedlessly means without checking carefully. Okay, heedlessly means minutely discussing all its positive aspects and negative aspects. Alright, so here it was related to marriage of Dr. Sadao. Let's see what happened. Sadao's father was a downright Japanese traditionalist. Obviously, we have already read in the chapter that Dr. Sadao and his father used to go for an evening walk on the beach of the sea, and they used to discuss, especially father used to teach him so many things. He used to say that islands are connectors of Japan to the rest of the world, because Japan is an island country and it needs to connect with the rest of the world, otherwise it will be isolated, otherwise it will be aloof from the progress of the world. Therefore, he was close to his father. Next, Japanese traditionalist. His father was a staunch follower of his tradition. He wanted rules and regulations to be followed strictly. Father would not have accepted any other caste. Father would not have agreed for intercaste marriage. Therefore, he wanted to know whether Hana was Japanese or not. Okay, and this was being done because he respected his father a lot. He didn't want to dismay, or he didn't want to give pain to his father just because he loved a girl in America. Okay, so what he did, first of all, he understood whether Hana is a Japanese or not. When he saw she was, then only he proceeded for rest of the things, like making her his soul partner. Okay, let's move to the next page. Sometimes little things in life become very vital. How would you justify it from the chance first meeting of Sadao and Hana? So here you have to mention Dr. Sadao met Hana by chance in the American professor Harley's house. So children, here you have to keep in mind the professor's name was Harley, and Sadao had taken shelter in his rented room. And there only, when he felt disgusted about the food and other things, at that time Hana came to his life, which changed his entire future. Next point is, he had decided to leave that house as the room was congested and the landlady was so voluble. So here the room was small and the landlady was very voluble. Voluble means very talkative. So for a student, it was very difficult to handle with this landlady. Therefore, Sadau had almost decided to leave the house. Not only that, the food was also disgusting. But a short meeting became vital and later culminated in the lifelong union of Sadau and Hannah as husband and wife. So in his house only, he met with Hannah and it became lifelong union. Sadau married Hannah and then they were husband and wife till now and they led their life happily. Let's move to next question. Who was the misty figure? How did the doctor and his wife establish his identity? The first point in the answer should be the misty figure who had been washed ashore was an American prisoner and he was badly wounded. Next point should be he was tortured as well. He was wounded by the sea, but he was tortured by the Japanese troops. Not only that, he was shot from behind. Maybe he was trying to escape from the prison. That is why he was shot from behind. But somehow he was saved. His flesh had been scraped by the dangerous spiky rocks near this shore. Needle-like rocks, very sharp rocks, tried to kill that man brutally. Okay, it means the nature also wanted to kill that prisoner of war, but he survived. Now next question's answer. His identity as a US sailor was established from the faint lettering on his battered cap. The cap of the soldier showed the identity of US Navy. Okay, let's move to the next question. How and why did Dr. Sadao stop the bleeding of the injured man on the beach? What dilemma did Dr. Sadao and his wife have to face soon after? The first point should be medical instinct and ethics made Dr. Sadao stop. Stanch means stop the bleeding. He didn't want to see at first who was he, whether he was from America, Korea or somewhere else. Okay, the first thing was that he was a patient in front of him whom he had to treat, and that is what he did being a doctor. He packed the wound with the help of wild sea moss to stop the bleeding momentarily. Whatever he had found at that time, with that, which was grass and other things, he stopped the bleeding for time being. After that, he had dilemma because he was a prisoner of war and he was from enemy country. So this was the dilemma which Dr. Sadao and Hannah had to face. Let's move to the next question. What makes Hannah comment, "We must think of the children and your position"? See, Hannah was a very dedicated wife and she was very simple lady as well. She didn't know how to trick people. She was not a cunning lady. Okay, she is a devoted housewife and she was very scared of arrest. She knew that if anybody will know about this sheltering of the prisoner, then entire family will be arrested. It will bring defame or bad reputation to the doctor and his family because he will be considered as a traitor. Okay, now she was very much concerned about children's future as well, because if their father is jailed, Dr. Sadao is jailed, then obviously children will be called as the children of a prisoner. Okay, and traitor as well. So that was the thing which troubled Hannah. Now see, doctor's career will be at stake because he will be housing a prisoner of war. Next point is that here she expressed strong reservation about sheltering. Now see, after getting this man inside the house, for time being it was okay. She thought that he will be treated and he will go back. But that did not happen. He had to stay there because there was no alternative at that moment. Therefore, she expressed her reservation about the sheltering. Okay. Next question is, what makes Dr. Sadao comment This man must have extraordinary vitality. See, the American prisoner of war was shot from behind. He was bullet ridden. It was American soldier who was badly wounded. He had bullet in his body which Dr. Sadao was trying to take out. See, he survived in all adverse condition. He was chased by the Japanese army. Not only that, he was there inside the sea. The sea could have taken him to somewhere else. Wild animals would have eaten him up, but that did not happen. He survived. It was not less than a miracle. And had there been somebody else, they would have collapsed very easily. But the man survived. Okay, the prisoner survived. That is why he commented that he must be having extraordinary vitality, extraordinary strength, because of which he survived through all the odds. Okay, let's move to the next question. Why do you think Hannah believes that the man is a menace, living or dead? See, she is not a cunning lady, as I have told you, and she is not insensitive as well. But when she looked at her children and her husband, beloved husband, at that time she was taken aback. See, sheltering an enemy is a criminal deed. That is true. Even if we Indians try to keep our enemy countries wanted person, okay, then what will happen? We will be liable to be jailed, right? The same thing is happening here. See, they will be punished according to the law. If he dies, doctor fails. If the injured man dies, injured prisoner dies, then doctor will fail, as his duty is to save any patient. Okay, but if he survives, doctor will be arrested. Hannah thought that if he survives, if the prisoner survives, then doctor will be arrested, because people will report about him to the authority and they will be captured, they will be arrested for harboring or keeping inside the house an enemy. Okay, that is why she said it is a menace, living or dead. Even if he lives, he will create problem, and if he will be dead, then also it will create to his husband, to her husband, sorry. Okay, because he will be failing as a doctor. Let's move to the next question, which is very important one. How did the old gardener react when Sadau told him about the wounded American sailor? See, the gardener, old gardener who used to work since his father's days, okay, he became very upset and frightened as well. He was sad because Sadau's father never used any foreign item in his house, but son had inserted a foreign man in his room itself. That is why he was upset and he was frightened, because he was from enemy country. Because of his appearance, it was revealed. He was full of anxiety. Old gardener was full of worries. He was superstitious too. Okay, now why he was superstitious, let us find out. It was destined that the man should die. According to old gardener, the man was destined to die. Okay, the God has decided him to die because he was shot at the back. Okay, next point is he was wounded badly by the rocks, and rock is also entity of nature, and then sea as well. Next, master went against the dictates of nature. Old gardener thought that master, that is Dr. Sadao, went against the dictates, that means went against the rules of nature. That is why he was apprehensive about the situation. Okay, I hope it's clear. Next question. How did Hannah wash the wounded man? Why did she have to do it herself? First of all, she laid the enemy on the floor, and this was the floor of the father's room. Okay, he was bare breast. Okay, his clothes were open, and She untied knots. The buttons were opened by Hannah. Took a small cleaning towel with hot water. She started cleaning entire body, upper section of the prisoner. Okay, upper section of the body was cleaned by Hannah herself. It is because Yumi, the children's governess, denied to do the task. Okay, Yumi, you must remember this for MCQ. Yumi is the servant's name, okay, of the Sadau family. She used to look after children especially, and she denied to clean that white man because even she was very much betrayed. Even she was very much sad by the dropping of atom bombs on two places of Japan, that is Nagasaki and Hiroshima. So obviously she had hatred in her heart. Categorically refused to wash a white man. Yumi vehemently said that she is not going to clean the man at any cost. Therefore, she became very much frightened, and this is how she cleaned the man. Let's move to the next question, and it is, this man, there is no reason under heaven why he should live. Now see, with whom Dr. Sadao was talking and what is the meaning of this line? This man, there is no reason under heaven why he should survive. Let's see the answer. The patient is POW. POW means prisoner of war. Okay, keep in mind, prisoner of war. Prisoner of war was badly wounded, that we all know. A worry and vexation for doctor. A worry and vexation for doctor, because if the patient will die, he will question his identity as a doctor, and if the patient becomes happy, healthy, wealthy, then obviously they are going to respect the doctor. Okay, a worry, vexation for the doctor. Saving him was a challenge. Harboring him will lead to his arrest. This concern was also there. Keeping that man inside the house is not legal, especially when it is a wartime and he is from enemy country. Therefore, he totally denied. Dr. Sadao was going through mental conflict. At that time, Dr. Sadao was going through mental conflict because he was thinking whether to stay there or go back home. His treatment was an ultimate test of patience. First of all, he was from enemy country, he was badly wounded, and whether he will survive or not, there was a big question to the situation. Therefore, he was undergoing mental conflict. At the same time, Hannah became nauseatic because she had to give anesthesia to the patient, and when the operation was going on, doctor loses all control. Okay, doctor loses all control, and when Hannah vomited outside, he was not able to go there. That made him irritated. An enemy who is causing hell lot of problem is being treated by him. Now see the situation. The soldier had come to this unknown place, and because of unknown face or people, what happened? They lost their peace of life. They were not able to go for roaming around. They were not able to go out for dinner because he was totally occupied in a very important case. Dear children, we will continue with our next set of questions in our next video. This video has become a bit lengthy, so please wait for our upcoming video for the question answer.